I'd like to find the road we roamed together, swinging along, finding the long way home. We didn't mind the time or place or weather, singing a song, finding the long way home. Remember, I used to sigh at the end of each day, dear.
What is happening, house lovers and explorers? Welcome back to another video. And today we are taking a look at an old historical cottage that was situated in Birkenhead here in Adelaide. And thankfully there are some real estate photos that I came across online as I got here during the salvage process. And although there is still lots to see, including many old historical things under the floor, it's the real estate photos that really show what an absolute time capsule this old gem was. The home was sold in June of 2023, and I saw a demolition application go in not long after that, but unfortunately got here during the salvage stage. But the fortunate part, I guess, is because of this, the floors were accessible underneath, and I was able to find and recover a lot of cool old things, which we take a close look at further in the video. And that also leads to some more historical research associated with those items, which I think you will all enjoy. But first, let's take a look at some history of this old place. Alrighty, right away I can say that this old place stayed within the same family for 112 years. And this style of cottage, with the corrugated and pressed tin cladding, are very distinct to the Port Adelaide and surrounding suburbs, including Birkenhead. And although the port area was a real working class area, some of these cottages were still quite ornate and definitely loaded with character, as you can see from some of the photos that I've taken over the years. So when I delved into the research of our home here in question, being at 21 Wells Street, Birkenhead, it showed that in 1911 this home was built for Mr. John Salvatore Angelenowicz and his wife Elizabeth, naming their new cottage Tarawera. Now John Salvatore was a master mariner, following in the footsteps of his father Antonio, who was also known as Anthony. And he was a very prominent and well-respected portman. He was one of the early ketch owners at Port Adelaide, being the captain of his own ketch named the Active. A replica of the original ketch was made and fittingly named Active 2, and this can be seen and even boarded to explore down at the Maritime Museum in Port Adelaide, as we look at some photos of it right here. And this old photo of the ketch named Nelkaby is a good example of what the original ketch Active would have looked like in the early 1900s. Antonio and his first wife Elizabeth had 9 children, 5 boys and 4 girls, with 3 of the boys also becoming master mariners. And as mentioned, John Salvatore was one of them. Robert and Anthony Lawrence were the other 2. I found some information that states that Anthony Lawrence unfortunately passed away from illness in 1905 at the age of just 36. It describes him as being better known as Lamb and was loved by all that knew him. For many years he was in charge of his father's ketch, the Active, and later taking on command of another ketch called the One and All. So as you can see, a very prominent mariner family in the area. Now back to our cottage owner and eldest son, John Salvatore. He and his wife, also named Elizabeth, had 7 children, all before building their new cottage named Tarawera here on Wells Street in 1911. It's interesting to note that eldest son Anthony John shortened his name from Angelenowicz to Angelin in 1918, as did youngest son John Matthew in 1928. John was one of the best known ketch owners and skippers in the Port Adelaide district, taking over his father's business upon his death in 1915, which he then improved by adding the ketch, one and all, to his family's fleet. He passed away at the age of 67 in 1931 at home here at Tarawera, Wells Street, Birkenhead. And as you look at the names and occupations in the directories here, just in the surrounding streets, you can see just how the port area was filled with skilled labourers, trade workers, wharfies, and not to mention many master mariners alike. John's wife Elizabeth and his youngest son John Matthew continued to live here at Tarawera after his death, and both of their names are still present in the directories up until 1958 when Elizabeth passed away. John Matthew had a wife named Susan Imelda, and the directories indicate that they continued to live here up until he passed away in 1979. Susan Imelda then inherited the home in 1980. Details after this are not known as to whether Susan Imelda continued living here afterwards, but the old Tarawera cottage did remain in the family up until 2023 when it was sold. Well, that's about it for the overview of the history and ownership, although I do stumble onto some old things that lead to some more research, as you will see. So let's get into the explore and take a look at this old gem of a home during the salvage stage, with still lots to see. Hope you all enjoy. What's going on, house lovers and explorers? Well, I'm going to say right off the bat, I have never been so heartbroken to get to a place that's halfway through a salvage process, because this place was an absolute time capsule. Now this is a beautiful example of the corrugated ironclad homes down in Port Adelaide and Largs area. Very iconic to the area. Now that's the wood that was behind the rendering on the front here. Most of the floor is ripped up, but luckily there is still enough for us to see what this old girl was about. Bullnose veranda. Yeah, I saw this one get sold and then waited and waited for a demolition application, and damn, it wasn't quick enough to get here. But it's interesting to see what's directly behind that corrugated iron. There's a beautiful mantle. They're not saving there, it's all cracked in half. Maybe they got the rest of them but broke that one on the removing it. But there's even a few old things. I've already taken a walk through, guys, and there's a few old things that I found in the dirt, which I'll show you in a sec. But yeah, it was that heritage green and the yellow colour. There's some real estate photos from the outside that you may have seen from the very beginning at the start, but yeah, I'm shattered, guys. I would have loved to have got this one before they started picking it apart. It's not the greatest position there with the sun where it is. It's in the shade, that wall. That's all the corrugated iron there. There's the whirly-bird still spinning on the ground. And the classic old dunny still standing. And as you would expect, all made of corrugated tin as well. Yeah, a lot of the old cupboards, like all the old cupboards, were still in there, but they're being piled up out here. The place was a time capsule, guys. Now these markings, definitely from the salvo, guys. Not sure exactly what they mean, but I've seen them plenty. Alright. There was an old newspaper under the lino there. It's a 1952 one. But this was the back porch area, laundry. I will turn the light on as well, just to add a bit. But still, green and gold. It's almost, it's like a, it's got a lot of, like a residue from steam, and it's almost like an orange colour from all the residue. There's the old light switch, set of light switches. Oh, they're the brass ones that have been painted over. But there's the bathroom door on the ground. And this is the bathroom. The clawfoot tub's still in there too. Never upgraded, guys. Now I'll dig up what history I can on this one, but from memory it was built about 1900. And these old girls with the cladding, iron cladding, date from the late 1800s right up until about 1915, 1920. At least the kitchen cabinets are still there, and the old fireplace has been filled in with some cupboards. But they were probably added in the 30s, I would think, 30s or 40s. And apart from the things pulled apart, if they weren't pulled apart, the place was actually in good nick, except for the dust and a bit of residue sitting around. But now you can start to see layers of wallpaper here. Another door. So yeah, that wallpaper is not the original one, but it's still old. Obviously the flooring was good enough for them to reuse. And as I said before, they probably got the nice mantles and damaged one getting it off the wall there, but now, when I was taking a walk around, noticed a whole bunch of matchboxes down there, and then again in this room. Check out this wallpaper. Yeah, and then again in this room. So I've already been down here, guys, and I'll show you the footage because old Eagle Eye Paul saw a tobacco tin, or what he thought was. So I'll just show you that footage now, guys. The wallpaper is so cool. I am so spewing that I've got here when it's half gone. Damn, this place is a time capsule. But the reason I actually stood down here, because I could see matchboxes, old matchboxes, and I know an old tobacco tin when I see one. Right there, I reckon's a tobacco tin, guys. So let's pick it up and see. Oh, yep. There we go, guys. It's an old Havelock one. Awesome. And luckily, it was face down, because when they're face up, they'll tend to rust more. And even though that one's actually got a fair bit of rust on it, but we'll see how it cleans up. I think I've shown it in a few other videos. Actually, we'll get a photo of it upside down like that. That's cool, guys. And I just flipped over that paper. That's from a page from the same paper I saw before, 1952. But now is the time to go and see New Zealand. Check that out. An ad for South Australian Housing Trust. There you go. Yep, that's right, when they were building them. Well, there's what's left is some matchboxes, but there's also some more scattered under there. So, oh, there's another Havelock tin there, guys. It's face up, this one though. I'll try and flick it out. See, the old workers just ditched their tins once they've rolled their last one. All the matchboxes are under there too. So I flicked it out, but as you can see, that one has suffered a lot of rust compared to the other one, which was face down. Suffered a little bit, but yeah, right across the branding, yeah. Well, I might have a bit of a scrounge around if I find anything else. Definitely film it for yous. Yeah, so it always pays to have a look while the floorboards are up, definitely. And I'll finish the explore, but then I'll have a bit of a look through further, and obviously if I find anything else, I'll add it to the video. But we might walk across to these front rooms across here. There's another section of the wallpaper there. That's the original one underneath. Looks like they had that heavily bolted shut too. Oh no, there's another beautiful door down there. And one under there, it looks like the front door. Damn. That mantle. I don't think there was anything wrong with that door. Obviously just not important enough to throw in the recycling skip. I don't know. Time is money though, isn't it, guys? There's a different pattern again. There's another old light switch. It's kind of a mixture between the bakelite and the brass ones. There's another ceiling rose. Now this ceiling's got just panelling, sheeting. Had a bit of a scrounge in at the base of this fireplace, but yeah, nothing really there. It's just Acroflex antiseptic cream packet. There was a little mini calendar dated from 1958 there. A couple of old envelopes. And yeah, not too much else, just screwed up paper. I do actually take the time to look closer at a few of these items, guys, and if you stay tuned, you'll see what I discover, which includes an old letter. And the details in that letter lead us onto some more cool research. And this one, guys, turn off the light. This has got the pressed tin, which you saw at the opening shot there as well. I'll probably get a photo and it'll come up better with a photo. Trying to balance on these beams at the moment. Beautiful. Alright, so I stepped over all that stuff so we can look at this room. Yeah, there's a few stains and, well, there's a ceiling rose and there's a bit of a vent next to it. Wink wink. I'll say no more. But yeah, they've ripped up the floor there and taken that with them. But these are the bricks that have fallen down through the chimney. Pretty much seen that in every room. I've taken the roof off probably. Well, this poor little butterfly on the window. So what we can do for a happy ending to this place is put him outside. It's alright, mate. Come on. Oh, there you go. Alright, got him. Make sure he can get outside. Stand up there. Oh, walk over this stuff again. Alright, hopefully he goes out this way. Off you go, mate. Here he goes. Yep, over across the road. Beautiful.
So I'm just going to continue over to the kitchen, have a look in there on the floor. Alright, so I've had a look on the kitchen floor, stirred up dust, but there's an old Christmas card there with a photo on it and a postcard. And actually, well, there's 2 Christmas cards there, and here's a photo of those. And over here, I found a couple of little things just in the base down here. Now, I'm not going to attack that too much now. I'm going to get a brush at home, and that's a matchbox. It's still in decent condition considering it was buried in the dirt. I don't know, that's off the back of something. But check this out. This is your old kettle whistle. It's a Viceroy T1.
This is actually a spinning top, this Viceroy piece, guys, not a kettle whistle. I do find out this later, along with some information about it. And all these items I'm showing you here, we do get a better look at once they're all cleaned up and dusted off the next day at home. But I will show you how I scrounge around in the dirt and find some other tobacco-related items and a magical old Christmas card that's over 100 years old.
There's like, I think there's a little Bakelite powder container. And some sort of cardboard lid to a product. It's not a tobacco one though. So yeah, there you go. I thought, what the hell, I am going to scrounge around a little bit in that pile of dust. And the old bloke was definitely a Havelock smoker, because I found 3 more tins. One was pretty shockingly bad there. There's the bottom half of one there. And that one, it's probably depending if that rust comes off the last part of the word there. There we go. That might be the best one of all, but there's a Capstan packet of cigarettes there, Kookaburra matches, whole bunch of old matchboxes. It just seems like they've been dumped under the hallway here. There's all the matches there. So I don't know whether that was just a dumping area or somehow it ended up here with other things, but just spotted this card up against the fireplace, guys. Oh, there we go. It's got some Christmas greetings. Little sailor boy. There it is, Mr. Angelinowick. Wishing you a merry... Wishing them every happiness for the season. 1915, guys. Wow. That's 4 years after this home was built. Damn, it's kind of, I've got a mask on at the moment, guys, because I've been fishing around under that flora. But yeah, it's worn out right up there where the maker is, I think. British Bulldog and a sailor boy, but wow, what a find. That's so cool. That would be to John Salvatore. So cool. Love finding things like that.
Alright, let's take a closer look at the things that I found and cleaned up from the dirt. Starting with the items I first thought weren't worth looking at. and they were the ones in the fireplace. But it turns out those scrunched up papers were actually some old early 1950s chocolate bar wrappers, including 2 from McRobinson's. McRobinson's was a very popular brand and was situated over in Victoria in Fitzroy, and later became Cadbury. And this blue Fiesta one, I actually found an advertisement for it online, which says it's from 1952. The other wrapper is from a local South Australian manufacturer, Menzona, which was a company formed by William Menz, who started out making biscuits, later expanding out into confectionery. They amalgamated with Arnott's in the 60s, which later became Roban Men's as we know them today. And Aussies will know their products such as the South Australian icon of Fruit Chocks. Other things among this screwed up paper was some empty envelopes for Elizabeth, dated 1957, just a year before she passed away. Now this envelope, although only a few pieces, held the letter that I found, which also was torn into sections. But on the envelope you can see the surname Angelin, and in commas, Tarawera, with Wells Street, Birkenhead, SA below. We will come back to this envelope shortly, but let's take a look and read the letter from it. I lined it up the best I could to get this photo, and it reads, 56A Kingston Terrace, North Adelaide, Sunday morning. Dear Jack, received your letter plus the snaps. They are very good and thanks very much for them. I am sorry to hear of Anthony's wife being so ill, and my word, it is so hard to get help in the house. So on Tuesday, May 31, I will if it's not raining. I am going to Dr. Jolly and will be at your place by lunchtime. Hoping you, Sue and Mother are well. And this next word that starts the sentence I'm not sure of, but it's followed with until Tuesday. Then it reads, excuse this scribble as I am in a hurry to get to the mail. Yours sincerely, Annie M. Whelan. Well, I think I pretty much got that translated correctly, and it tells us that the letter is to John Matthew, as the name Jack is commonly used for blokes who are named John. Plus, the writer Annie references Sue, John's wife, Susan, and also his mother, which confirms that John Matthew was indeed living at Tarawera with his mother and his wife. This tells us that the letter was written before 1958, when his mother Elizabeth passed away. Annie also references John's brother, the eldest son, Anthony John, regarding his ill wife. The great bonus to this letter is that we have a clear address and a name attached to it. So let's put on our detective hats and do some digging. The first thing I did was look up the address of 56A Kingston Terrace, North Adelaide, and found that it's these beautiful old late 1800s row cottages. Next step was to track through the directories to find the name Whelan. It was a safe bet to start in the 1950s and work backwards. And sure enough, from 1949 to 1950, Miss E.A. Whelan is listed, although Whelan is spelt with the H after the E. A quick ancestry search turned up more info. As you can see here, she is named Alma Annie Mary Whelan, which gives us the E.A. Whelan from the directories. But also Annie, which was in brackets on the letter, indicates that this name is used by friends just like the name Jack is. So the address on the letter certainly had a Miss E.A. Whelan living there in 1949. Now if we take another look at the envelope pieces, there is a year date with the third number worn away and missing, but the last number on that date is 9. It has to be 1949 as the stamp is of King George. If it were 1959, it would be of Queen Elizabeth. So I would be confident to say it's a match. But what the connection is between the families, we may never know. Finding that letter certainly adds to the whole story. Let's keep looking through the other old things that I found, which include many matchboxes. And these ones are just the ones that were intact, some better than the others. But they all seem to be made overseas. And the old Havelock tobacco tins, which are from the late 40s and early 50s, one of them came up to an okay presentable level, but the others not so much. I used one of them to store a few other little things, like this vintage Gillette razor blade, which is still in its full wraps. Now these are more tobacco items, which are from inside Capstan brand cigarette packets. And these are older again, going way back to the First World War, circa 1915. These small cards were inside the packets, and they've got war incident stories on them, also pictures and information about weapons. But my favourite thing in this tin is the 2 bob I found. 2 bob is the good old days slang for 2 shillings, or in this case, a 1 florin coin, which is also equal to 2 shillings. Pretty neat, hey, and this one is quite old, being from 1917. Back on the table, there are some old cotton reels, a vintage old Indian root pills bottle, a broken mouthpiece from an old pipe, the little Bakelite oval-shaped powder case or makeup case that we saw earlier, some marbles and 3 spinning tops, including the old tin Viceroy one that I thought was a kettle whistle. While kids these days have got iPads and tablets to play with, the kids from the good old days had marbles and spinning tops. Which leads me to an article I found on Trove from 1910 for Viceroy tea. And this confirms that the spinning top is from that year of 1910 also. So the article reads, Daylight Fireworks. The proprietors of Viceroy Tea and Arab brand groceries have made arrangements to give the children of the city and suburbs an enjoyable afternoon's amusement, free of charge, on the Jubilee Oval on Saturday afternoon next, when there is to be a display of daylight fireworks, which are described as being extremely novel and amusing. Wilkinson & Co. hold the exclusive rights in South Australia for this class of fireworks, which was specially manufactured to their instructions at the Imperial Fireworks, Yokohama, Japan. There are to be 100 pieces displayed, in all about 40 varieties, giving representations of various animals, fish, grotesque figures, soldiers, warships, strings of flags, etc. Children can gain admission for free on presentation at the gates of children's free passes, which are obtainable from all storekeepers in the city and suburbs. Over 30,000 of these free passes have been distributed, and given a fine day, there should be a record gathering of children at the exhibition. A souvenir spinning top will be presented to each child. Adults can gain admission on payment of 1 shilling. Allison's brass band will be in attendance. The gates will open at 1:30 p.m. Looking back now, John Salvatore's children in 1910 would have all been between the ages of 3 and 15. So it is very likely he and Elizabeth took them to Jubilee Oval that day, and perhaps all of them receiving a Viceroy tea spinning top, and then at least one of them ending up under the old home for me to find 113 years later. And just on a quick side note, and this may be of interest to the local Adelaide folk, is that Jubilee Oval mentioned in that article used to be directly behind Adelaide University and Bar Smith Library, and these 2 photos are from the State Library of South Australia. So the little green tin top is a definite treasure with a verifiable age and story behind it, and I will definitely be keeping that little top safe. Now, the last cool old things include some receipts and invoices from a few places, all dating around the early to mid-50s. There was also several cardboard items that I found, including some postcards and some Christmas cards. Here's a partial one that says it's of a Jersey farmland. Next to that is a very tattered Christmas card. It could be a generic one, as there's a photo of a little girl on there. I'm not sure who that is. And here we've got a couple of men's and juvenile clothing receipt stub type things with size 6 and size 8. And then next to that is the awesome old Christmas card that was in that fireplace. It would have been originally up on the mantle, and it's very much a wartime theme because it reads, "Fighting for a worthy purpose, and we shall not down our arms until that purpose is achieved." It's got the little sailor boy and the British bulldog there. And on the back it was to the Angelenowick family, wishing them every happiness for the season, Xmas 1915. That one I will be definitely keeping safe as well. Another old Christmas card here, which I think is from overseas, because the wording for Christmas spells Christmasdide, and it's to Dear Lanny from Suds or Suze or something like that. I think that's from overseas, that one. And this one is another postcard, and I think it's from Port Wakefield actually, and it's of some boats docked somewhere, and it says Wheat Stack and Shipping 1909. It's quite worn, but it's still cool nonetheless. There was also a couple of pieces of cardboard with the name Angelenowick on there, and an old envelope, from what I can tell, is to the address of something on Unley Road at Unley, South Australia. Alright, now let's take a look at these receipts. We can see here a 2 bob donation was made to Townsend House, Schools for the Blind and Deaf. Another one is for Blacks Limited Clothing and Shoe Store. W&T Roads Hardware Store, which was located where Port Plaza is now on Vincent Street. This one is for Philip Griff Furniture and Hardware, all the way up in Broken Hill. And one little bus ticket to finish things off. Some people may consider these old things to be junk and not worth saving, but to me, it's like being an archaeologist for a day, uncovering old things that tell a story and fill in the blanks. And thankfully, the internet has a wealth of archived information to help fill in those blanks. So, if I had to choose, I would say that the Viceroy spinning top, along with the florin coin and letter, were my favourite items. But let me know what you all think were your favourite items in the comments. Alright, well let's finish off by closing out the video back in the old home, and we'll also take another look at the real estate photos to help send off old Tarawera Cottage in style.
So sad to see it in a state of salvage. So wish to have seen it before they started picking it apart. And more importantly, would have loved to have seen it brought back, give it some TLC, but still keep it to its original character. That would have been awesome. Not to be though, guys. Well, did recover a few cool old little items, but... And we released the butterfly, so I guess that's some consolation, but nothing in comparison that would have been to see this home live on for another 100 years. I'll just walk around the front again.
Well guys and girls, that is it for this video. I really hope you all enjoyed the history and backstory of the Angelenowick family home they called Tarawera. Rest in peace, old girl, and I hope this video can keep your memory alive for many years to come. Thanks for watching everyone, and I will move on to another one, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers guys, bye.